Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you the whole process of how I made this daily design over here. It's a pretty cool one, so let's jump right into it. So we're starting off with our color palette, our base image, and our inspo pick. And to our main image, I'm just going to go to select subject and add a layer mask to that. That way we've isolated our subject from our background. I'll right click on it and convert it to a smart object. That way I can always go back and change the selection if I wanted to. I'll then sample two of my colors from my color palette as my foreground and background color, and then I'm going to go into the filter gallery and add 3 filters. As you can see, those 2 colors will be applied to our image, and I'm going to start with a reticulation filter, and I'll just play around with the settings, adjust the sliders a little bit to get the effect I'm looking for. I'll then add a grain effect and play around with the intensity of that, and finally add a half-tone pattern to it. I'll make sure the pattern type is on dot, and I'll just play around with the size slider and contrast. And we get something like this. I'm thinking it looks pretty cool already. I'll then just double click on my background color and change that to one of the colors from my color palette. I'll then go into the adjustment settings and add a curves effect. I'll clip that to our flower and just draw a little S curve just to increase the contrast a little bit. It's then time to add some text, so I'll add this little paragraph of text, and I think I'm gonna align it to the left. I'll make that blue, which is the last color from my color palette, and then I'm going to start making a couple of paths with the pen tool. And then with the type tool, just gonna click on the path, and that will allow me to write my text along the path that we just created. This is pretty cool. You can do this in Illustrator as well, but I just feel like the pen tool gives me so much precision that other tools don't give me. That's why I use that. I'm just gonna fix my little text boxes over there and just gonna use some placeholder text for now, just to see how it's going to look eventually. Once I've added all of my text, I thought it would be a cool idea to add some blue boxes around some parts of our tulips. So first I tried just having transparent ones with a stroke on, but then I felt like I wanted to do something a little different, so I added a fill color to the box, and I made sure to place my image on top of everything and to clip it to one of the boxes. I then duplicated my main tulip image and did the same with the second box. That way we get this really nice effect that I was going for. We can now delete our reference image. We have the basics of it down, so now we're just going to play around with the positioning of our shapes and text and see where this will take us. I decided to add a couple more little blue cubes, and then I thought the color palette looked kind of neat, so I duplicated it and rotated it to create that sort of like angle and give our poster some sort of little border that I duplicated and placed on the bottom. And if we zoom in, we have this really nice crispy texture on our tulips that I really like. I basically then just grouped everything together and duplicated that group and right click and converted that to a smart object. Now, time to add some textures to that. You know, I love some good textures, so we're gonna place those in and change their blending modes. I'll then convert everything into a smart object again, duplicate that smart object, and we're gonna go into the filter gallery again to add a little more texture. And we'll make sure our foreground and background color are the default black and white. And this time we're going to add the same effects apart from the grain, so just a reticulation and halftone pattern effect. We're just going to play around with the settings. Then when we're happy with that, I'm just going to go and change the blending mode of that top layer. You can see the before and after of what it kind of did to the art. So it just added a bunch of new cool texture to the piece, which I really like. I then had my final text that I wanted to place in this poster ready. So the cool thing about working with smart objects is you can just double click on that smart object and have your layers fully editable. So just double click on your text layer, adjust your text, then you can save that file and go back to your main one, and there you have it. Your text is updated and nice. At this point, I decided I was kind of missing a title for this piece, so wanted to add one in there. Obviously not a problem because we're working with smart objects. So I just double clicked on the smart object, went in my text layers and added another text and subtext for my title. I'm using Montserrat Black for the first line of the title, and for the second line I'm using the Sloop Script 1. I believe you can find those on Adobe fonts. If I'm not mistaken, I don't really remember, but I feel like these two fonts really pair well together. So I'll just position them wherever I want them to be, adjust the positioning of all the other elements now that I've added the title up top, save everything, and there we have it. That's our final piece. I've then added a hue and saturation adjustment layer just to play around with the colors and see if we could get some cool other color combinations. Here are the 4 final versions that I posted on my Instagram, and that's it. I hope you like the final result. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. If you like it, if you don't like it, which colorway is your favorite. If you have any tutorial requests, or if you want to see the specific process of one of the posts on my Instagram, feel free to let me know and I'll make a dedicated video to that. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.